Every year I come up on stage, the music's playing, and I say to myself, I'm like, this is going to be the year. I'm going to be so excited, I'm going to break out a dance move. And then just a split second right before that happens, this image pops into my head. I'm like, Krupa, slow your roll. Just not today. Today is not the day for this. Yeah, so yeah, tech conferences and dancing don't mix. But there are a lot of billionaires in that video, so I don't know, maybe. So welcome to MarkLogic World 2019 in Washington, D.C. Yes, please. Particularly for those of you from out of town, right? Washington, D.C. has its own local flavor. There was a lot of security to get into this building, right? It's different. It's a government building. We want to keep you safe. So with that in mind, remember, if you see something suspicious or unusual, say something more suspicious and more unusual. Just kind of cancel it all out. So every year we try to take on the theme of the city that we're in. 2 years ago we were in Chicago, and we made connections between the history of Chicago, like the Great Chicago Fire, which turned out that it would not have been as bad as it was if not for a data quality problem. And then last year, and it's true, that's actually true. Last year we were in San Francisco, so we were right at home. It's kind of a geek's paradise, so we told a bunch of, we didn't dance on stage though, but we told a bunch of geeky jokes, and that was fun. And of course this year we're in Washington, D.C., and what is Washington, D.C. known for? Yes, I knew that was a dangerous question. So Washington, D.C., as we know, is known for politics. So this year, every metaphor, every example, every joke we tell, everything we do is going to be related to not politics at all. Yeah. I saw the 3 red dots kind of across my chest as things were going on. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. All right, not politics. Good. But we do have a lot of great content that stands on its own. And a lot of MarkLogic's capabilities were directly impacted by the work we did in the public sector. And so over the next 2 days, you're going to hear from fellow customers, you're going to hear from people at MarkLogic, and it's a really jam-packed agenda for 2 days. So what I'd like to do is give all of you some things to think about as you're going through the agenda, because there is a lot to take in. And for folks who know me, I try to stick to the rule of 3, and I tend to use alliteration as a mnemonic. So I'm going to give you 3 things to think about. They all start with the letter C, and they're all important. And the first one, of course, are customers. For those of you who have been following us for a while, we often say that we are pretty much customer-focused, such that you guys are the extension of our product team. And we've been dialing up that concept for the last couple of years. You notice our offerings are more than just a database. We build things around the database based on all of your feedback. So you could say this year we're dialing it up to 11. Now, I'm not going to steal anybody's thunder and talk about some of the new announcements that are coming. Gary's going to be on stage. Our product team is going to be on stage. But if you want to find out what's going to happen next year, what we're going to announce next year, the best thing you guys can do is talk to each other. Attend the sessions of other customers. Compare use cases within an industry. You know, we certainly have industry roundtables, but not just within your industry. Talk to people in other industries. Talk to customers that are in a different place but are still solving enterprise data integration problems. So that's the first thing, okay? Talk to other customers. The second is a concept, okay? This I had to cheat on a little bit, because the concept neither starts with the letter C nor is it just one word. And it's called an enterprise entity. And it's something that I'd like for you to think about as you listen to not only our product announcements, but the problems that our customers are solving. So in the past, we've often made a distinction between departmental thinking and enterprise thinking. And so historically, technology has been very departmentally focused. Every system we've built, it was always about these sets of requirements for this department that I'm working in. But increasingly, over the last few years, we've had to put on more of an enterprise lens to our thinking. And an enterprise lens deals with things like interdependency across departments. But we've been trained to think that there are departmental problems and there are enterprise problems, and the enterprise problems are the things that we do sort of after the fact. After we've solved the departmental problems, we go to these cross-departmental initiatives. So I want you to hold on to that notion of the distinction between the two and the interdependency in the enterprise space. And I want to add another term. We'll call it an entity. Okay? Now, this is an abstract term. It's a technology term. We use it a lot. We use it in a lot of contexts. But what it really is just a fancy term for the things you care about. When you build a system, you care about a particular domain. It could be customers. It could be trades. It could be aircraft, oil rigs, pharmaceutical compounds. It's kind of a contract between you and the system. You're building a system. You're saying, I care about these entities. Okay? That's really all it is. It's very fundamental to building systems. So let's combine them. And let's compare these two things. We've got a departmental entity and an enterprise entity. So in the departmental entity space, when we're building systems, and we're building systems, say, about a customer, we've scoped them to a single system, or say a single domain. It could be a few systems, but it's largely a single department. And the models around these things are pretty stable. So we've had to get better over the years. We've gone from the waterfall approaches to the agile approaches. We've dealt with some of the constraints of relational databases by creating the middle tier, and the object-oriented approach to building systems served us well. And we can say that for building departmental systems, technologists who build systems, like us, have had a history of success. We've gotten better over the years. For the enterprise, building entities for the enterprise is a different thing, okay? You're not dependent on a single system. There is this interdependency that I talked about. So there's a lot of actors that impact what that entity looks like and how it acts. And in this case, the changes are so frequent that we go from maybe complication to complexity. And you're going to hear about that tomorrow a little bit more. This distinction between complication, things that are complicated and things that are complex. And that change tells us that an enterprise entity is not just a bigger entity than a departmental entity. It's a different thing entirely. And it requires completely different approaches, a completely different way of thinking of how you model the things you care about. And so for this reason, the technology industry, outside of MarkLogic that is, there are a few success stories. And we talked about this last year. We talked about MDM failures and the like. We have not yet, and when I say we, I mean my pre-MarkLogic life, we have not yet cracked the nut of modeling the enterprise entity properly. The departmental entity, that's essentially the entity that serves silos. The enterprise entity, what we're talking about, that's what gives you your 360. Okay? So why is that the case? So the enterprise entity it's kind of like a model multiverse. It's not a stable thing, but you still have to manage it. It's not ephemeral. It's not something that you just build on the fly as you need it. It's not something that you virtualize against. It's something that you have to build and something that you have to manage, but it's modeled but changing. Okay? A little bit of a duality to it. So it has to be managed very differently. Everything today has an enterprise impact. I started out this little talk by saying that there's a distinction between the departmental and enterprise entity, and that is true. But today, there is not a single departmental problem that doesn't have enterprise impact. And so this is from Team of Teams, and you're going to hear a talk tomorrow by General Stan McChrystal. So I've been reading this book. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it, and I love this quote. And there's dozens of quotes in that book about that. And that book, of course, is not about building technology. It's about team dynamics and management, but this holds true just the same. Talks about an interdependence across silos and how just being in a silo does not give you an accurate reflection of the environment. That events happening in another silo are important and relevant to everyone. And that's true in enterprises today. And that's the problem that we solve. So as you go through the conference, as you listen to the announcements that we're going to have today, when you talk to other customers, think about that. Think of what are your enterprise entities. Okay? The third one starts with the letter C, and this is an obvious one, is the cloud. Okay? So where you're going to hear a lot about the cloud today. Now, we've been in the cloud business for over 10 years, okay? And as you know, the cloud is a force multiplier. right? It removes friction. It allows you to do things much more easily. It just removes a lot of constraints. But like any force multiplier, the outcomes depend a lot on proper application. So when you think of what your cloud strategy is, how are you going to manage these enterprise entities in the cloud, you have to ask yourself, is your strategy taking into account the potential pitfalls of acceleration? Are your costs going to be higher because it's much more easy to consume infrastructure? Are you going to create more sprawl as a result? You're just going to create more silos, because you can do that, right? Those are the unintended consequences of enabling technologies. You remove a barrier, and suddenly you could do things a lot easier. But if you don't have a proper strategy, you could have the unintended consequences. Or will your cloud strategy leverage things properly? Will you focus on simplicity, safety, and getting value? Will you focus on managing your data in the cloud as opposed to just consuming the cloud because you can do things much more quickly? So that's the third thing to keep in mind for today. So customers, engage with each other, learn from other customers, especially in other industries. Remember this concept of the enterprise entity? Technologists have gotten good with the departmental entity, but what we're doing, with all of you are doing with us, is we're solving the enterprise entity problem. And then the cloud. It's a force multiplier, but like anything else, don't let it be a problem multiplier. Okay. I think my time is just about up, but I've got plenty of time here, so maybe we could do a dance. I don't know. Should we get a vote on that? No, let's not vote on that. You're going to hear a lot of great things today. And it's 2 days of fun education. Okay, it's not a boondoggle. We're going to have fun tonight, but I think at this point, it's just my time to turn it over. You guys ready? You guys ready for this conference? Yeah? Let's do this, all right? I'm going to see you guys later. I look forward to the rest of the show. Take care.
Well, good morning. Welcome to MarkLogic World. Welcome to Washington, D.C. Pretty spectacular place here. I can't actually see that there are bodies up in the upper levels. So hello to all of you up there as well. Thank you for joining us. We're really excited about MarkLogic World this year. And I'm going to jump right in because Ken took so much time, I don't get as much time now. And that happens seemingly every year. We tell him he's got a set amount of time. I'm perfectly on time every time. And you'll notice all the MarkLogic people are laughing hysterically. But the reason I'm on time is because they just keep adding time at the end as I run over. But today I'm going to try not to run over. And you heard Ken kind of launch right into data integration simplified. That is what we're focused on. We're focused on the integration of data. We're focused on solving the age-old data silo problem and simplifying data integration by doing that. Before I get too far into it, though, I really want to thank all of you. Ken talked about his 3 C's. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to keep track of all 3 C's through the whole talk, but there is one C I can definitely kind of stay tuned to, and that is customers. And I want to thank our customers who embrace MarkLogic and who take advantage and use MarkLogic. This is a small subset of the major companies that use us, agencies, and also kind of the industries that they're in. And something that we take really seriously is when I look at the customers and I look at what all of you are doing with our technology, when we look at it, we look and go, you're really doing core mission critical computing. And I just want you to know how seriously everyone in MarkLogic, the company, the employees, everybody associated with the company, how seriously we take taking care of your data and being good stewards of your information, just knowing how critical that is to your businesses. And so there's not a day that goes by that we don't take our mission critical role seriously. We're also serious about helping all of you leverage something that's very new and a big new opportunity. This was the 3rd C of Ken's talk, and that's, we're interested in helping you think about the acceleration of delivering data to your business users, an acceleration of running your MarkLogic systems, and that acceleration coming through none other than the cloud. And we are on a cloud journey, but as part of this journey, what I want to do is I want to take a walk back in time with all of you, and I want to look at kind of how did we get here, and how does this look compared to other things we used to do. And so if I look at the journey, we go back into the 60s, heavy duty focus on mainframes. And I know nobody in the audience is old enough to have ever touched a mainframe. And so I'll have to explain it all to you. But it was essentially, it was an environment where it was professionally managed. IT ran the systems. Data was very centralized. Things were very controlled. Back then, we didn't talk a lot about security problems. It was protect the system administrator passwords, and you protected the mainframe, essentially. There wasn't concern about external intrusion and perimeter protection and all those things. And so the mainframe is what I would characterize as a very controlled environment. However, it lacked one thing that everybody needed in business, and that was agility. And so it had no agility whatsoever. Everything took years to build. There used to be teams of people that spent 5 years defining what an application would look like and another decade building that application. But we had really good governance. We had solid security. Again, no agility. So what did we do? We moved into the distributed computing era. And in the distributed computing era, think about what started happening in distributed computing is we kind of got into departments taking control. Data started migrating out of the data center. All of a sudden, governance issues came into play. Security issues came into play. To some extent, I just call it total chaos. And so now what are we doing? Well, during that total chaos, we all missed something, which is in 1990, right in the middle of the screen here, is Tim Berners-Lee. He invented the World Wide Web. And so we were all buried in distributed computing, and somebody else was off thinking about something different. And over the past decade, we started accelerating the move from distributed computing to cloud computing. So let's look at that timeline a little bit. So the early phase of the cloud centered very heavily around government clients and around government taking advantage of it. But in 2006, Amazon launched the first commercial cloud. It was complemented by a move by Microsoft with Azure, came into play in 2010. And at MarkLogic, for us, the journey's not new at all. We had our first AWS customer in 2009. We entered the AWS marketplace in 2013. And today we support multiple clouds. But to be very clear, at the center of our cloud strategy is the two preeminent and clearly the biggest cloud providers in the world that are supplying it for the enterprise, and that is Microsoft and Amazon. And that's where we're focused. So the cloud brings the safety and the security of the mainframe, essentially, back in. We go back to professionally managed environments. We move away from distributed computing, where computers, in some cases, ended up under the desks of people and didn't get backed up, didn't get managed. And essentially what we do is we bring the safety and the security of the mainframe forward. But with the cloud, one thing that we get back that we didn't have with the mainframe is that we get agility. But we get agility without causing the mass disruption that distributed computing caused. And while on one hand we talk about the cloud as this futuristic thing, from our lens and from MarkLogic's point of view, going back to 2009, the cloud is now. It's not that new of a thing. We're into the trend. We're into people doing major things with the product. And we have two of our largest customers already in full production on the cloud. And let me share those two with you just to give you an idea of kind of what's happening today in the cloud.
Now's the time to find a health plan on healthcare.gov.
So many of you know that healthcare.gov was a major system that we took on at the beginning of the Affordable Care Act here in Washington, D.C. Today, it's one of the largest NoSQL systems in the world. It solved one of the most complex data integration problems that has ever been seen, as far as the kind of the mixture, the quantity, the kinds of data, the number of people supplying it. It was a really complicated system, and it's a historical system. But this is in full production in the cloud. They did a few months of testing. We cut over on a weekend. That weekend was March 23rd, and we've never looked back. And as a company, though, beyond just the technology, I want to share something else with you because it's something we take great pride in. which is 67.8 million Americans, are healthier today because they're able to get healthcare insurance. And as a company, we take huge pride in that. So let's look at another large government cloud deployment. And this is another mission critical, not surprisingly, government system as well. And this system manages message traffic, and it's a primary war fighting and analysis tool. And it's all running up in the Amazon classified cloud. And this one is also in production. Like healthcare.gov, is built on a MarkLogic Data Platform. Probably no surprise to any of you that that's why I'm talking about it. It supports an army of users with a large-scale analytical workload. Healthcare.gov was an operational and transactional workload. This is an analytical workload running in the classified cloud. Again, huge amounts of traffic, an army of users taking advantage of this technology. And very similar to the last one, it's another area where we take great pride in, is our technology being applied to help keep the world safe. And we take that role very seriously as well. So the cloud's now, and when combined with MarkLogic, it delivers on the promise of that improved infrastructure. It gives you operational performance. It gives you stability. It gives you security. It gives you best-in-class data delivery, essentially. And when combined with the skills of all of you in the room, our success in many respects, our success is your success. And your success is our success. It goes both ways. It's a give and it's a take. And so let's look at one thing that is kind of a report card that we look at and say, essentially, this is a report card on how we're doing in the marketplace. What measures this report card has a lot to do with the success that you have had and your willingness to share your success with each others, but also with the analyst community. And on this particular one, this is the operational database report, and we're recognized as the top challenger in this Gartner report. Good report card. We're really happy with that report card. We're also recognized as the sole visionary on the analytical database report. So put in a category that says, hey, I'm the best operational transactional top challenger, and then come over to this other area on the analytics side, and I'm the sole visionary. And the question that I want all of you to ask yourself is, why have two platforms when you can have a single platform? Because really all the other solutions that are trying to enter the marketplace today, they're one or the other, and they force you to have multiple systems. And we look at the workloads and we suggest that the workloads intersect. And we give you that promise in the cloud. So if this is a success we've been seeing, what are some of the barriers that we have to break through, and what barriers hold us back from being successful? Because success, as all of you know, it doesn't come without a little blood, sweat, and tears, but we're trying to eliminate that. So let's talk about those kind of barriers. So one of the biggest barriers that's out there is the ongoing historical fight between IT and the business for control. That's what led to the issue in distributed computing. And then you ask yourself the question, is the cloud going to change this? My belief is no, it's not going to change anything if you don't start solving the data silo problem. In fact, the cloud, if you think about what distributed computing did, and it created lots of silos, the cloud, as customers go off and you start licensing from the business side all kinds of different solutions, you actually have the danger that says, I'm going to introduce more silos. And what's one of the major downsides to this data sprawl that's caused by data silos that we want to prevent? It's data security. When that data moves out to the fringes of the network, and I have data all over the enterprise, how do I really protect it? How do I really govern it? How do I really manage it? And so if we're going to start doing new solutions, which require us to put more of our data in more new places, all of a sudden this data security problem, data management problem becomes a big issue. And the results of that sword fight, they hit everybody involved. Ken talked about complexity. All characterize it not so much as complexity, it's really discord amongst the interested parties. So who are those interested parties? Well, interested parties, the line of business. And what does the line of business really want? They just want their data. Their question every day is, what's taking so long? What's wrong with all of you? Why can't you deliver me my data? And then if you give it to me in a way that I can use my data and that I don't take an asset and make it into a liability. The architects are out there going, I'm just trying to get to an agile environment where I can control things, I can manage things, I can govern things. And the developer just wants to deliver. They just want to go out there and build their solutions and deliver it. And so I'm curious, have I described anybody in this room? My guess is I probably have, and we have a vision to change this. And our vision centers on simplification, on safety, and on value. And Ken talked about those three premises at a very high level. I'm going to talk to you a little more granular, which is, what does that really mean? Well, on cloud neutral for us, the way we define it, build your application once and run it wherever you want. Run it in the cloud, run it on-premise, run it in a hybrid cloud. And we've had customers moving back and forth between those. We had one customer moved over to a cloud environment, did not enjoy the experience, did not enjoy the cost, moved back, and then they subsequently moved to a hybrid cloud environment. But they did that without having to rewrite their application. So that's one thing, is be able to support all the different venues, be able to support on-premise, hybrid, and pure cloud. And we do all of those. The next one is have security in the cloud. And so one of the things we're really committed to, and you heard us talk about this the last couple of MarkLogic Worlds, was our advanced security capability. But remember, and I'll remind you again, because I reminded you over the last couple of years, advanced security for us in securing data is not to lock everybody out of their data. It's not to go put it in a safe, put a special combination on it, close the safe, and forget about it, because that doesn't solve the business problem. So it's about safe sharing of the data. It's about getting very granular in your security, that you can anonymize data, you can redact data, you have very tight control over the security of your data. And that's really important for safe sharing. So that's a premise. If we're going to be in the cloud, we have to be able to safely share our data. And then the very last one is value. And I'm going to talk to you about how we deal with the cloud to make it the most economical approach you can imagine to cloud computing. And so we're going to give you the value, and we're going to focus on the economics, and I'll talk about that some today. But let's talk about how we're changing the narrative around these three particular topics. First, we make integrating data from silos very simple. And so this is the MarkLogic Data Hub. This is a framework and an offering in our product group that many of you use. If you didn't use it or you've been with us for a long time, this is ultimately what most of our customers build. They build data hubs. And what do? They ingest the data. We ingest the data as is. We harmonize and make the data essentially cleaner and better. And then we expose it through APIs so you can do all kinds of things. You can do operational workloads, you can do transactional workloads, you can do analytical workloads. There's a couple key enhancements you'll hear about through the course of the show here. One of them is we started a partnership with MuleSoft so that on the ingestion side of things, you can ingest your data using MuleSoft connectors with the MarkLogic Data Hub Platform. So that's an improvement in helping you get data into the hub so you can curate the data. Well, one of the other things we're very focused on is smart curation and taking advantage of machine learning. You'll hear a little bit about that from Justin. And then on the back end where I'm accessing the data, another thing you'll hear about here is our very differentiated support for Microsoft's Power BI tool. And Justin, again, will walk you through the details of that so you can improve your analytical capability. So this is what I mean about changing the narrative, is simplify data integration, do it with a new approach, avoid your traditional ETL and MDM, and take advantage of the MarkLogic Data Hub Platform. And now, today, we deliver the platform, the MarkLogic Data Hub Platform, as a fully automated cloud service. So that takes away a lot of the burden. You don't have to install all those pieces. You don't have to set up a hardware. You don't have to set up servers. It's more than just a database as a server. It's a new way to integrate your data, leveraging the cloud where all data comes together. You can return to something the mainframe gave us, the ability to bring the applications back to the data. What happened in the 30 years of the distributed computing environment is we started moving data out to the applications. And that was part of the loss of control. Remember, in the mainframe on the timeline, you brought your data to the mainframe. The users came to the mainframe. Think of the cloud in a very similar state that says, by using the data hub and using a fully automated data hub service, I now bring the data back into the data center, in the cloud in this case, professionally managed, secure, all those elements, and I let the users and the applications come back to the data. The difference is between that mainframe era and that cloud era is I get all those benefits, but I get agility. I'm not sacrificing agility for what the business needs to be able to do with their data by bringing it all back into a professionally managed environment that's very controlled. This will further change the dialogue with the key stakeholders. So now let's look at those key stakeholders. Suddenly the line of business is going, wow, I actually have the data I need to do my job. What a novel strategy. That's what everybody in this room shares that goal, support the business. If you're not supporting that goal, something's wrong. I'm not sure what it is, so I can't really comment on it. But at the end of the day, supporting the business is giving the data to the business that the business needs to operate their system, to operate. I'm helping them with their cloud strategy, which gives them agility, and I'm allowing them to rapidly manage and work through business changes because that agility plays out to the architect as well. The architect says we get agility, we get good economics, we don't have to sacrifice security, and then guess what? The developer just gets faster build cycles, so faster time to results. How does this compare to some of the alternatives out there? Simply put, it's better than the alternatives that are out there. To deliver something comparable with traditional cloud components, as you get into the database as a service, which this is more than a database as a service. Database as a service would stop right where it's shown. When we go to the data hub as a service, we add in a whole nother set of elements. To do this same thing with traditional cloud technologies, you start losing agility again. Why do you lose agility? Because you have to integrate and stitch together 12 to 14 different components. So what do we get from this? We get better time to results, and we get reduced complexity by giving you a fully managed stack that's all pre-integrated. Everything's ready, everything's set to go. And a fully integrated stack, not only is it better from an economical perspective and time to results, it's just simpler than building your own system. Because when you build your own system, what are you doing? You're stitching together all these unrelated components, and we're trying to make them work together. So instead, a fully automated, fully managed service, just much simpler. Component architectures, with that said, they're not only complex, but they're also very expensive. And so what you don't want to do is you don't want to be spending all your money stitching components together. You want to put the focus back on the business applications that use the data. So get rid of the data complexity. Don't create a complex environment stitching multiple components together. Use a fully automated service. Deliver economically through the Data Hub service what the business wants. We did some study on this, and generally, the general rule of thumb is that the MarkLogic Data Hub service, to duplicate that with all those other components, it's about 3 times more expensive. So we're about 1/3 the cost of stitching together all those different products. And that doesn't take into account the operational costs and the costs when the dam breaks and you get all these unexpected users coming through and they drive unanticipated spikes in your capacity. So we've also dealt with that. With the MarkLogic Data Hub service, we have a very unique capability around elasticity that allows us to essentially smooth out your billing. And so what happens in typical technologies is on all those spikes, when you're using other vendors' technology, you have to configure for the peak, or as IT people and as application developers, you have to make a trade-off that says there's going to be times where the system's just slow because I'm unwilling to pay for the spikes. Well, we have a very unique architecture that gives that elasticity that says I can scale up and down very rapidly, and there's no repartitioning, there's no re-indexing. When I'm dealing with those Black Friday moments, I don't have to reconfigure everything, and I don't pay for all that peak capacity beyond just the very short window of time of which I'm using that peak capacity. So scaling for us is simple, and the thing that we can give you is we can give you predictable costs. By giving you predictable costs and by being able to deal with those peak periods very economically, we provide you the highest value and the lowest cost in the cloud. So let's look at how that credit and debit system works in the cloud. So let me show you kind of how you buy when you use technology in the cloud. And it's a pretty simple concept. You buy credits. It's kind of like your cell phone where you can collect minutes. So some months you use a lot of minutes, some months you don't use as many minutes, they carry over. Well, this structure is very similar. What you do is you buy credits for the MarkLogic Data Hub, and this is for the fully automated service in the cloud. I buy those credits. During peak periods, I'm consuming credits at a faster rate, and during slow periods, I'm retaining credits. I'm collecting them. I'm building up my bank account of credits. So you have this situation where essentially your credits are going to go up and down, but as you buy your credits, you have this ability to save some of them up for the peak periods. You're not consuming them all instantaneously. So this is simply driving a better value. And if we're going to give you all the capability of the automated data hub and fully automated service, we're going to give you the simplicity of not stitching components together. We're going to give you a valuable solution and a high value outcome based on our unique elasticity architecture. Well, what needs to complement the financial concept is something else, which is a really simple user interface to get it set up. And you'll see that Justin is going to talk about this during his presentation. He'll actually show you the creation and setting up of a MarkLogic Data Hub in the cloud, but it's pretty easy. It's easy enough that even I could figure it out. You go name it, you pick the region in AWS that you want to run. So in this case, we have US East 1, and then there's a sliding bar, and you slide that bar left or right, depending on the capacity that you expect to use. And based on that capacity you expect to use, there's sizing algorithms and pricing algorithms under the covers. That creates your purchase, and essentially you go off and you create it. So this, very simply put, is the most capable data integration offering in the industry. It's a great value. It's better, it's faster, and it's cheaper than running any of the other alternatives. And then what's going to happen here with machine learning, we're embedding and we're announcing machine learning capability. We're going to make the part of being a data hub, we're now going to make it into a smarter data hub, because we're going to apply machine learning technology to how you curate your data so that you get a better outcome. And again, you'll get an opportunity to see that with Justin. To be very clear, though, we're not stopping right there. So you'll notice on this box, there's one little box right at the very top of the chart that's not filled in, and that's the applications box. And today, we're going to be announcing, and we are announcing, our first application. So what is the announcement that's filling in that application box? The announcement for us is the MarkLogic Pharma Research Hub. We've been building research hubs of all various sizes in all different industries for over a decade. What we've done is we've taken all that knowledge and we've put it all together to deliver a fully automated cloud solution, which is the Pharma Research Hub, where you get a single pane of glass and you get access to all your information. It's solving the age-old problem of researchers saying, I just can't get my data. In fact, a lot of the researchers that I've talked to and that I've discussed it with, they've said to me, I can actually go to Google outside my firewall and find out more information about my data than I can by doing it within my own system. So they're taking a different approach, and they're saying, hey, let me bring that search back into the halls. Let's integrate the data from MarkLogic with our proprietary data, and let's have a pharma research hub. And that's what we're announcing today. So let's watch a really quick video, and it's going to explain more of what the Pharma Research Hub is.
Life-changing drugs can take over a decade to develop, costing billions of dollars. That's why it's never been more important to accelerate the R&D cycle and move products to market faster. But there's a problem. The information that pharma researchers need is spread out through a patchwork of disconnected data silos. As a result, it's difficult for researchers to know if they have all the information they need. Plus, the information they do have is limited and difficult to sift through. Wouldn't it be great if your research team had a single platform for searching and sharing information? MarkLogic's Pharma Research Hub is a single pane of glass that provides easy access to the widest possible array of R&D data available, unlocking the competitive advantages within and accelerating innovation. The hub integrates both public and private data, and it's integrated fast too, 10 times faster than with custom-developed solutions. And with Google-like search, everything is easily accessible. So whether it's genes, proteins, pathways, chemicals, small molecules, publications, and authors, structured or unstructured, it's all made available in one place. The hub leverages machine learning, semantics, and metadata to add links and uncover relationships that would otherwise remain hidden. And as they push deeper into their search, users can gather, annotate, and package related nuggets of knowledge, which they can securely share with colleagues either inside or outside their organization. And as new, relevant information is loaded, users are immediately informed via real-time alerts. The hub can easily export this newly linked data for machine learning and AI too, allowing you to dramatically accelerate your entire R&D pipeline. The best part? The hub is cloud-based and provides a level of security and scalability that other solutions can't match. Pharma R&D is complex, but accessing the data shouldn't be. Simplify it with MarkLogic's Pharma Research Hub.
This research hub is really cool. I had a chance to get a demo from Tyler, one of our technical team members, out at in the showcase out there. I'd highly encourage you all to get out there over the course of the breaks and take a look at it. Even if you're not in the pharma industry, just seeing some of the innovative things that we've done with graph database capability and the semantics, the interesting way that machine learning gets applied to it. It's a really cool demo. I'd encourage you to go see it. They have it up and running out in the little exhibit hall outside the main entrance here. So please take advantage of it. Take a look at it. It's really cool. And it's going to apply to lots of different industries. Not surprisingly, this is a journey that we're going to be on. Pharma Research Hub is the first of the applications we're going to be building. This journey is going to be to start down the path of building additional applications, mostly based off of things that we've been solving as point solutions for many of you in the room, where we've been working over and over on very similar use cases, whether it be ERP data integration or whether it be a very vertical specific use case. Not only are we delivering key solutions on this, we also have partners like NTT Data, TCS, and Cognizant, and they're extending the Data Hub service to applications as well, where they'll build turnkey applications and provide those to you on top of the MarkLogic Data Hub service. So ultimately what we'll end up with is a broad offering of applications that are just ready to go that you can take advantage of. What are we doing? It just keeps going back over and over again. It keeps going back to that timeline of we're trying to give you the agility to deliver what the business needs. And so in a way, we're bringing you back to the mainframe where things are reasonably controlled, they're secure, there's all those things, but we're not doing it with no agility. We're adding all the agility into it so you can get phenomenal business results. You can deliver the business what they need. And so if I roll all this together and I say, what are we really trying to do? Very simply put, we're simplifying data integration. We're giving you that 360-degree view. So it's unified, it's actionable, it's real time, it's governed. What can I do with it? I can build operational, transactional, and analytical systems all against that same integrated view of the data. And ultimately, why do we all do this? So we can better serve our customers, we can meet our mission. Remember I said early cloud was a lot of government. It's a lot of you in the room here. Government's taking huge advantage of the cloud for a lot of that agility, the speed to get things out there. They're improving operations, they're better serving their missions. In some of you, you're in regulated industry. How can you be more effective at answering the regulators' questions and being compliant with various regulations? Healthcare has a real challenge on that around HIPAA and the protection of healthcare data. If I go over to financial services, highly regulated industry, you have a lot of data silos because that's how you were organized for the last 50 to 100 years. But now the regulators are looking at you as a single entity. So you have all these different kind of industry-specific challenges. And if you actually kind of shake them a little bit, they all keep coming back to, if I could just get an integrated view of the data, I could do all these things. And I can better serve my customers, improve my operations, and I can answer the regulators. So you're going to hear a lot about Data Hub and data integration simplified. You'll hear a lot about our journey to the cloud. We want to go on that journey with all of you, and we want to realize and use the cloud to drive the agility that the business side is really looking for, and to create an environment where, as you take advantage of it, we don't do what distributed computing did and create mass chaos with our data. We actually start repairing some of the damage that was done by the 30 years of distributed computing by reconsolidating, building data hubs, organizing data, governing it, managing it, securing it, and delivering it to the business users. So I want to thank you again for attending. Washington, D.C., this building is a phenomenal environment. If you get a chance to walk around this building a little bit, there's some really interesting different rooms. We had to fit you all in the auditorium here so we could do a presentation, but there's a lot of really nice, interesting rooms here. We're really kind of honored to be here in the nation's capital holding MarkLogic World for all of you. And this is about you as customers. The MarkLogic employees that are here, they're here to answer your questions and help guide you and work with you to make you successful. So again, thank you very, very much for joining us here at MarkLogic World 2019, Washington, D.C.
Thank you, thank you. Welcome to MarkLogic World, everybody. You guys all ready for this? Yeah. Awesome, great, great. So, I think about MarkLogic and MarkLogic World, a big part of it is about getting educated, right? So getting educated about what you can do with MarkLogic. Gary shared a few use cases, and getting educated about best practices with our expert one-on-ones and with the great breakouts that we have. Getting educated about what other customers are doing, and also getting educated on our product roadmap. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about that in a minute. So when I think about getting educated, though, I cast my mind back all the way back to when I was a kid. Right? And this is actually, that's the school I went to. And this is really actually a picture of me in the 70s. I asked my mother to send me some pictures, and this was the least embarrassing one, if you can believe that. I don't remember a whole lot about my primary school years. I do remember, though, that my favorite thing in primary school was show and tell. I loved show and tell. Why? Because most of school was, sitting in a chair and listening to somebody drone on. And if you're like me, you were maybe staring out the window and dreaming about other things you could be doing. But show and tell wasn't about just sitting and listening to somebody. It was about sharing with each other, right? Sharing with each other something that you're passionate about, So I think about today, if I were doing show and tell, what would I show? What would I show and tell? Well, things that I'm passionate about. Well, obviously I'm passionate about my family, right? This is us at, over here. This is us at Disneyland, a couple of weeks back. And my family's actually here in Washington, D.C. with me this week, but I'm not going to show and tell them, I like to ride my motorcycle. How many people in here motorcycle? See, not enough, right? Because you guys have to be passionate about it as well for show and tell to really work, right? I'm also passionate about the written word. I'm passionate about, things, communication. So, this is an original hand-drawn page from Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, a really seminal book about communication. I like this one in particular because it's self-referential. It has, show and tell as part of the actual content, right? So that's pretty cool. I can show and tell that. Or maybe I have this really nice book. This is something my mother gave me. This book is over 120 years old. It was published in the 1890s, and it's one of the first books published with photographs. So it actually has photographs in it, and they're all covered in a little wax paper. They're all sort of protected. And thinking about that makes me think a little bit about the trajectory of technology, kind of like the timeline that Gary showed. Photographs started out as these things that were really rare. and had to be really protected. And then they became more democratized. Everybody had cameras, and then we all had photo albums, and we have shoeboxes full of photos. But today, who has a photo album? Nobody has a photo album, right? It's all digital. It's all online. It makes me think a little bit about database technology, you know? I mean, you know, these old photos that are in this book, it's kind of like mainframe technology, and then this photo albums with the photos in the shoeboxes, they're completely disorganized, is kind of like relational technology, and, you know, and then now we're at the next stage, right? Nobody has a photo album today, but if I did have a photo album today, this next thing, my favorite thing, would definitely be in it, right? The Data Hub, right? I love the Data Hub. This is my favorite, well, okay, my family is my favorite thing, but this is my second favorite thing, and so this is probably what I would show and tell today. So today we are actually going to do the Data Hub show and tell. You've all heard me talk about the MarkLogic Data Hub many times before. Today we're going to show and tell. So in a few minutes, I'm actually going to invite Justin Makeig and Paxton Hare from our engineering team up to the stage, and they're going to show and tell. And they'll walk you through a single example showing the value of integrating data and also how the hub makes it easy. And along the way, they're going to make a few announcements about new capabilities that we have for you. But before they come up, I want to spend a few minutes on just how far we've come with the Data Hub in the last year. So how many of you were here last year? All right, good, a good number. So last year, I announced that the Data Hub framework, which was version 3 at the time, was officially supported product. That was last year, right? Today, just a year later, we have over 36 customers with the Data Hub in production. Wow, that's pretty amazing. Thank you. Yeah, that's great. That's great. And many of these customers are here today. They're here today and tomorrow, and they're going to do their own show and tell. You know, they're going to show and tell the solutions that they've built and the value that the Data Hub has brought them. You know, and they're pretty passionate about that too. They're pretty passionate about the Data Hub as well. Last week, I was talking to one of our customers, a customer who's presenting here, and she told me that for the past 15 years, she'd had a vision for how to manage the data in her organization. And for 15 years, she's been looking for something, some technology that can make that vision a reality. But she never found it until now. Okay, that is amazing. MarkLogic is the technology that is turning her dreams into reality. And that's exciting for us. It's gratifying for us, for my team, and it's really motivating us to keep innovating. And we've innovated a lot. Since we started official support last year, we've released 11 updates to the Data Hub. The Data Hub framework, tooling, et cetera, culminating in the release last week, I think it was just last Friday, of Data Hub 5. And you're going to see some of that. Justin's going to show you what that looks like. In the same period, we've also released 2 cloud services, right? The query service and the Data Hub service. And we've done 5 releases of MarkLogic Server with over 50 new capabilities just in that time. This pace of innovation would not be possible if it weren't for customers like you who use our software, give us feedback, and work in partnership with us. I know that you learn so much from each other at shows like this, right? You learn so much from each other at MarkLogic World when you do your show and tell. But I want you to know we also learn a lot from you. And so it's exciting for me. And I want to take a minute before the show and tell to just thank you. I mean, thank you all for being customers, for partnering so well with us, and for helping us make data integration simplified. So to show you how it's done, without further ado, please welcome to the stage Justin Makeig and Paxton Hare.
Good morning. Thank you, David, and thank you, Gary. As David said, my name is Justin Makeig. I'm a product manager here with MarkLogic, and I'm joined by my friend, my colleague, and senior engineer, Paxton Hare, who's going to be manning the knobs on the demo. Data silos are a tax on innovation. They add cost, time, and risk when you need to make sense of the disconnected parts of your business or mission. Most of you are here today because you're paying that tax. And with all due respect to our friends at the IRS, nobody likes paying taxes. New medicines take billions of dollars and years to develop. This locks up capital and creates risk for pharmaceutical companies. Increased scrutiny by regulators means that compliance is constantly changing for financial services companies. Not being able to respond quickly results in huge fines and page one headlines. Digital natives are permanently changing the expectations for customer service in mature industries like insurance. Startups are successfully differentiating by delivering experiences through hyper-personalization and mobile applications. Will the next great superpower be decided on the battlefield or in the cloud? Artificial intelligence is poised to reshape the capabilities of both militaries and diplomats. So whether you're curing cancer or rooting out bad guys, every industry needs a 360-degree view of their data. But you can't wait for last generation's technology. A typical data integration project takes years to see value. And even then, most fail. MIT research scientists recently found that over 40% of the cost associated with information systems is due to integrating data. The solution, of course, is agility, and we'll hear a lot about agility this week. Agility is about being able to adapt faster and smarter to changing conditions. But agility isn't just a buzzword. Small, laser-focused development allows you to move faster, but it's not just about speed. By getting value in the hands of your customers, you can adjust to changing conditions in the marketplace, the public square, or the battlefield. So we've understood the benefits of Agile for software development for decades. MarkLogic's approach realizes this for your data management layer as well. Rather than long cycles of brittle ETL, a data hub integrates exactly what you need when you need it. And when new data is available, it integrates seamlessly, making it accessible in real time, allowing you to get real immediate value. So our approach simplifies data management down to 5 core activities that I'll talk about today. And these core activities are easy for any organization to adopt. They'll get you results faster without compromising on the enterprise capabilities you need to run your business or mission. These activities are designed to be mixed and matched, so you can respond to changing conditions without having to start from scratch for each new requirement. The first and the core activity of a data hub is curation. You'll hear a lot about curation this week. So curation is about making the data so it's reusable beyond its original purpose. Curation harmonizes data, transforming it, translating it, and enriching it so it's correct and appropriate for its intended use, regardless of where it came from. To curate that 360-degree view of data, you need flexible storage to ingest data from anywhere without losing its original context. Once it's loaded, it's immediately searchable in MarkLogic. But the real value in integrated data is the new types of applications it enables. Unlike most solutions, a data hub gives you data for operational and analytic applications, all from the same integrated technology stack that's designed to work together. There's no assembly required. Tightening regulations mean that you have to prove that your data is secure and confidential wherever it's curated and accessed. A data hub governs data in the database, and so it's guaranteed to be trustworthy and correct for any application. And the flexibility to deploy anywhere allows you to balance cost, performance, and availability. We'll even run it for you in the cloud. This allows you to move faster than the speed of IT. I often hear, well, how is this different? My database can do this today. It can, but at what cost? Last generation's technologies have been rebranded for data integration. Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, recently recognized this in a letter to shareholders. Relational databases are really a modern marvel of engineering. However, inertia has forced them into places where they're not suited. And really, with enough time and budget, you can bend any technology to do whatever you want. But with MarkLogic, we've reimagined the entire premise of data integration. And we've built a solution from the ground up to support this new, simpler, more agile approach. To see how this is done, let's take a journey to a place that doesn't actually exist, but should be familiar to everyone. North Virginia. So North Virginia has been a leader in providing a social safety net to its most vulnerable residents. Back in the 1950s, it pioneered housing programs for returning soldiers. In the 1970s, during a period of dramatic spikes in energy prices, it also added energy subsidies to its programs. While these are successful in their outreach, they're run in isolation on a shoestring IT budget. These aging silos have prevented them from improving their services, for example, to do better outreach or to expand fraud prevention. This results in poor customer service, playing into the stereotype of the big, broken bureaucracy. They have high overhead from manual processes, and really an inability to innovate for fear of breaking something. And an increased opportunity for fraud by not being able to recognize anomalies across programs. Now, none of these would have been a reason in and of itself to modernize their IT. But more recently, the federal government has imposed new requirements on places like North Virginia, our made-up state. It requires them to have better outreach for veterans, to offer more programs to returning veterans from the war battlefield. And they also need to be able to report on the effectiveness of the money that they receive from the government. To meet those requirements, they're going to have to do things that are new, that are different. They're going to have to proactively determine the real-time eligibility for benefits across programs. They'll need to reduce errors and resolution times by fixing data quality issues. And they'll have to meet reporting deadlines by reducing the coordination costs across programs. How will they do this? Their analysts go through the requirements and come up with the idea to build a web-based eligibility hub. This eligibility hub will integrate their program databases and give them a real-time 360-degree view of their benefits and participants. Their app team sketches out some wireframes. That's the little wireframe there. And they realize that they're going to need to do several core things. The first is to determine eligibility for benefits in real time. This is something that their siloed programs were not able to do. They're going to need to find and fix errors in their participant roles and be able to turn around eligibility determinations in real time. So have immediate feedback for those updated data quality. And they're going to need a single pane of glass for their analysts to report on the quality of their services. There's no way their existing systems could implement this. Those systems are old and brittle, and no one dares touch them for fear of breaking something. And any work in these legacy systems might get over this hump, but that would not benefit the next set of requirements. The data silos are a tax on North Virginia's ability to innovate. So what if there was some way that they could reduce this tax, but also spread that tax over many different projects instead of new silos? Data integration with MarkLogic delivers fast results with lower costs, but also creates durable data assets. Durable data assets can be reused for further opportunities without creating new silos. So eligibility today, self-service benefits tomorrow, advanced fraud detection down the road. Driven out of the same hub, they can leverage the existing work that's been done. MarkLogic makes all this possible today. You've heard about data hubs that are in production. We have customers around the world across industries that are doing data integration with the MarkLogic Data Hub today. Many of them are here this week. I would encourage you to seek them out in the hallways. Talk to them about their experiences. So, in the next half hour, I'm actually going to step you through North Virginia's journey from siloed data to integrated insights. So we're going to build up their eligibility hub in demo time, in real time, we'll say. And then the North Virginia use case is made up, of course. But this is a real use case that we've got customers that are building today. So along the way, we'll demonstrate MarkLogic's agile approach to data integration, as well as reveal some of the new things that we've been working on. So there's lots to cover, so let's get going. And to do that, I'm actually going to hydrate here. So what I'll do is I'll map out the steps that we're going to take and return to this list as we progress. So the first step is to set the goals. In the true agile sense, we want a nice, well-scoped set of goals so we know when we're successful. Next, we're going to provision a data hub. We'll create our data hub in the cloud. After that, we'll define how the downstream application, the eligibility hub, and the reporting environment will access the data. Then we'll model our core concepts, just like Ken was talking about earlier with those enterprise entities. We'll provide a very simple model to get going very quickly. Next, we'll load data from the subsidized housing programs and the energy assistance program, as well as a secure feed from the Department of Defense to determine if somebody has veteran status. So we'll use that model to harmonize just the parts of those data sets that we need in order to support our eligibility hub. We'll harmonize those to make sense of them in this context, and then we'll finish by getting feedback. And again, this is a process that's designed to be iterative, and we'll show how we can work back and get progress as we go along. So we've got our marching orders from the wireframes earlier from our application team. Let's get going by creating a data hub. Data Hub service simplifies how you deploy and operate a MarkLogic Data Hub. It's a fully managed data hub in the cloud with all the flexibility and agility you need without having to manage the infrastructure yourself. You can get up and running in minutes, and you pay for only what you use. And as you grow, you can buy more as you need it. This innovative pricing that Gary talked about earlier allows you elastic expansion while keeping your costs predictable. This is a really innovative way that we've done this. So let's create a data hub on Amazon Web Services. So we'll start at the Cloud Services portal. So the Cloud Services portal is the central place to manage your services. From there, you can create a new one. You can configure existing services. You can control access, who has access to your cloud services. And you can monitor usage. So we're going to create a new one here. And really, it's as simple as giving it a name and a baseline capacity. So that baseline capacity is how fast you can accumulate credits to grow your usage in the future. The higher the baseline, the more you can scale. So we've created our cloud service here in Amazon. And for full disclosure, we've cut a little bit out of this, but you can literally do this in 15 minutes. Has anyone built up a stack on Amazon before? All the pieces that need to go into it? Things like compute, security, your virtual private networks, your balancing, your fail, all of that is included as part of this, as part of data service. You don't have to worry about any of that. Set the name and your baseline capacity, and you can get going in less than 15 minutes with a fully provisioned data hub. So what you'll end up with is a functional, production-ready data hub on Amazon Web Service. Out of the box, it provides separate stacks for curation, operational, and analytic workloads that are designed to scale independently. MarkLogic handles all of the operations. So there's no need for IT to set up backups, failover, or scale out. This is all included as part of Data Hub service. MarkLogic handles the operations so that you can focus on delivering insights from your data. Security is built into every facet of Data Hub service. The best practices are baked into the entire platform. Data Hub service is the most secure data platform in any environment. MarkLogic has been a leader in security for 15 years. And that's why we're working to certify against the most rigorous industry standards in government, financial services, and healthcare. By the end of the year, Data Hub service will be certified against SOC 2, Type 2, HIPAA, NIST 853, and FedRAMP. We've made great progress, and we'll have SOC 2 out the door in July, with the others following close behind. So everything we've seen thus far has been deployed on AWS, Amazon Web Services. And we have customers, as Gary was talking about earlier, that are already in production on Amazon. Today, I'm excited to announce the upcoming release of Data Hub service for Microsoft Azure. Just as with AWS, Data Hub service for Microsoft Azure is a fully managed, secure Data Hub service that scales out with predictable cost. The ability to run in different environments allows you to choose between cloud vendors. And we're thrilled to have Microsoft as a platinum sponsor here this week. So let's revisit our progress here. So now that we've established our goals and provisioned our data hub, what we're going to do is we're going to define how our applications will access our data so that our web developers can get started. Even though it's called a data hub, the real benefit of bringing data together is how it's used to power new applications. The Eligibility Hub improves customer service and reduces errors with real-time eligibility, something that they weren't able to, North Virginia wasn't able to do in their siloed programs. What I'd like to introduce today is a new, easier way to access data for operational applications called data services. Data services are customizable endpoints that allow applications to query and update data in real time. Each data service exposes a specific business capability. Think of it like a REST API, but much simpler. So revisiting our wireframe, we're going to need 3 capabilities to support our application. We're going to need to be able to determine eligibility by program in real time. We're going to need to find participants by name and address, and correct a person's details. For example, as part of an inquiry about why they're not eligible for some program. What we'll do is we'll create a data services for each of these business capabilities. And it moves the governance of the data out of the applications and into the data hub where it belongs. By working at the business capability level, data services streamline how developers, architects, and operators collaborate. So an architect starts by defining how downstream applications should access data. Think of this like a contract between the application and the data hub. For example, in our case, determine a person's eligibility for a program. The developer uses this contract to provide to build out the queries that provide and update data. It's the same contract, so there are fewer opportunities for translation errors between the architect and the developer. And finally, the operator can control resource usage at the granular data service level. This is a huge change and a really exciting way that we can provide more control over applications in the data hub. So MarkLogic does all the tricky work of mapping those, mapping that to the infrastructure. So your operators can focus on aligning those SLAs with the business capabilities. Data services simplify sharing data for operational applications. They align how the data is accessed with specific business capabilities and allow architects and developers and operators to work together more closely. You can start implementing data services today with the latest version of MarkLogic 9. OK, good progress. So we've got our data hub up and running. We've got our data services defined. And our application team is now chugging along. What we can do is start actually integrating data. So I'll begin by capturing the core aspects of the Eligibility Hub. In a data hub, you document these in a model. Ken talked a lot about models earlier. But this isn't your grandmother's third normal form model. This is a new way of thinking about models for data. These models are designed to evolve with your requirements, and they capture just enough about the data to make it useful. You model only what you need when you need it. By writing down the important aspects and keeping it with the data, a data hub can automate some of the curation and governance process for you, and I'll show you a little bit about this. So models start with entities. Entities are the core concepts that underlie your business. Think of them as the nouns that you use to describe what you do. So in a manufacturing company, that might be products, orders, and suppliers. Or in a healthcare provider, it might be patients, encounters, drugs. For our particular case, in our eligibility hub, we've got programs and person entities that will give a 360-degree view of eligibility. So the data services that I talked about earlier that are driving our eligibility hub are built off of those entities themselves. So they don't have to care where the data came from. Again, the entities don't need to cover every aspect of your data. This is really a really important part of this. It's just the ones you need. And you can, as you start to grow, they'll grow with you. So the housing and energy programs, the programs that we're integrating, they capture hundreds or thousands of aspects of the data that we don't care about right now. You can imagine that giant database schema on the DBA's wall. You've seen those before. For those programs. Those programs have evolved over decades. We don't need all of that data to support our eligibility hub. We just need the parts that are germane to eligibility for now. And we'll just capture those. That's what goes in the model. We'll also pull in a secure feed from the Department of Defense to verify veteran status. And again, all of these parts, there are aspects that form that 360-degree view of eligibility that we need. So once the data is staged and secured in the data hub, it's secure, but we don't need to model it until we need it. This is a very different approach than a legacy relational or warehouse approach, where you need to define everything up front in order to load it. The data hub comes with a built-in modeling tool. So I'm showing the model here that we'll need for our eligibility hub. You can drag and drop entities, define their properties, and their relationships between them. Under the covers, this is stored as a semantic graph, allowing you to extend it to add your own facts about your data models, and then query them with our built-in semantic query engine. This is literally all the modeling that we need to do for our eligibility hub. I haven't dumbed it down here. This is actually driving that application. And again, this is extensible, and it grows with you as you go. So as we come up with new concepts like dependent children or households, we can easily add them to the model and evolve our data model. The data hub can enforce certain aspects of that model. For example, by designating a property as personally identifiable, or PII, it can automatically secure that data so that only privileged users have access to it. Granular security couldn't be any easier than this. So we've got our basic model. And now we can start defining how the data hub should harmonize each of those data sources from those program databases into this model. So harmonization is a way to translate that siloed data such that it can be reused. We'll start by loading data from the subsidized housing program. So I'm showing the new version of Data Hub 5 here. As David said, Data Hub 5 shipped last week. Data Hub 5 makes it simple to build data flows to curate data. This new step-based approach allows for granular tracing as data flows through the curation process. You can run flows in the Data Hub or orchestrate them externally. This no-code UI allows you to quickly get started right in your browser. We'll start with an ingest step. Ingestion is about loading data from an external source into a secure staging area in the Data Hub. We're just getting started here, so I'm going to grab a CSV file from my laptop. In a production environment, this could just as easily come from a message bus or a REST API or even a query directly against those program databases. So given the raw data that we've just told the Data Hub how to ingest, we're now going to map it to the entities that we defined earlier. Mapping translates the data from how it's represented in the source systems to the definition that backs our data services in the model. So for example, each program might represent how a person's income is captured slightly differently. The mapping allows you to give a centralized common definition regardless of where the data originates. So you can see in the UI here on the left, we've got a representation. Oops, that left. We've got a representation how the data is represented in the housing program. So again, we've ingested that data, and we haven't lost any context. So we can see exactly the meanings, the terms, the way the data was represented in the housing program. And on the right, we've got our data as defined in the entities before. And mapping is about translating between those two. So the UI allows you to rename and reformat values. So we'll actually run the flow now and ingest the housing data and map it to our program and people entities. So in addition to what you see in the UI here, Data Hub 5 allows you to extend your flows with custom steps. This allows experts to leverage the core semantic and search capabilities built into MarkLogic to transform, join, and aggregate data. So let's verify our person entities that we just harmonized from the raw housing program in our eligibility hub. So we're going to search for William Miller here using the find person data services that we talked about earlier. Because we've collaborated on the data services and the definition of those entities, the application that our application developers were working just works. So we have that contract between the data hub and the application. Our data services only have access to the clean, harmonized data, so there's no chance of unvetted data leaking out. Our eligibility hub is really coming together here. So to recap again, we've scoped the problem, we've provisioned the data hub, we've defined and deployed our data services that drive the eligibility hub, we've modeled our entities, we've loaded data from the housing database, we've harmonized that to the program and person entities, and verified this end-to-end in our data hub. That's all in about, what, 20 minutes? So I just showed you how easy it was to configure data flows from your browser to do ingestion and mapping. This is great for getting started or quickly trying out an idea. But what if you need to integrate that as part of a larger production workflow? Data Hub 5 provides REST APIs that allow you to orchestrate your data flows from external tools. But even easier is to use the connectors that we've developed with our partners. Today, I'm excited to announce a technology partnership with MuleSoft. The first step in that partnership is a connector for the MuleSoft Anypoint platform. Anypoint is a leading solution for API-led connectivity that creates an application network of apps, data, and devices, both on-premises and in the cloud. It provides a rich ecosystem of connectors that allow you to get data in and out easily from a MarkLogic Data Hub. We're excited to have MuleSoft as a platinum sponsor here this week, and I'd encourage you to learn more at their booth out in the exhibition hall, as well as our joint breakout session. So by modernizing the data from the housing program, that's a huge win in and of itself, but we really haven't integrated data yet. So the real benefit is going to be in being able to determine eligibility across those programs. So let's see how to integrate that energy assistance program and the military service history to get a true 360-degree view of eligibility. So we're going to use the same process that I just showed you for the housing program to integrate the energy assistance program. Oops. This ingest, harmonize approach is the same regardless of the data, and that's really important. This means that it's a repeatable process that any data integration team can learn, and it's easy to reuse knowledge and skills. So we'll run that and load that data from the energy assistance program into those entities that we've just described. So the harmonization that we've just seen creates entities by translating data from siloed systems. Anytime data is created or changed, it's vital to be able to trace it back to where it came from. In regulated environments, you need to be able to show data's lineage in order to prove that it's been managed according to the rules that govern it at every stage in its life cycle. With a MarkLogic Data Hub, you don't need a separate data lineage tool. This is a fundamental capability of the hub itself. The Eligibility Hub allows program analysts to drill down into a person's history. For example, to respond to inquiries from participants or to investigate data quality issues. An accurate view of where the data comes from makes the Eligibility Hub more trustworthy. So every update as part of the curation process that we just showed stores a small breadcrumb alongside the data itself. This breadcrumb tells you what's changed, when the change occurred, and the process that initiated the change. This detailed accounting of what, when, and how is called provenance. Provenance allows you to answer questions from regulators or auditors about where data came from and how it's used. The Data Hub tracks this for you automatically, so you don't have to. Without this, recreating history would be impossible once it's happened. In addition to the out-of-the-box provenance tracking that Data Hub provides as part of the curation process, we also have an API that allows your custom steps and data services to document their own provenance. Those same program analysts working in the Eligibility Hub also need to be able to access data using their own tools. These are the power users that know the intricacies of the data and the rules that govern it. They spend their days in their business intelligence tools, slicing and dicing, in order to report metrics or to fix data quality problems. Today, a Data Hub allows you to easily and securely connect with BI tools so that your analysts can spend more time analyzing and less time collecting. Studies have shown that in a typical analyst workday, 80% of their time is spent on preparing data. 80% on preparing data, as opposed to the 20% that they do actual analysis. A MarkLogic Data Hub allows you to easily connect to get secure, governed data that's already been curated into those tools themselves. Today, we have connectors for Qlik and Tableau, as well as an ODBC connection for things like Excel. We're also announcing a connector for Power BI. So the connector for Power BI allows you to access all of the data in a Data Hub using the powerful, intuitive tools that your analysts are probably already using. Other than the initial connection, they don't even have to be aware that they're using MarkLogic Data Hub under the covers. This means that they can leverage secured, curated data from the tools that they're familiar with. There's no need to move data around, and they always have an updated and consistent view, and it's guaranteed to be governed and secured. We're excited to have Microsoft also as a platinum sponsor this week at MarkLogic World. So let's see how this works. So what I've done is I've configured Power BI to access the Eligibility Hub just as a program analyst would in North Virginia. So out of the box, the Data Hub provides SQL views for each of the entities that we defined. For advanced users, you can tune those with a built-in powerful templating language that we provide as well. So to save time, I've set up a report that gives descriptive statistics about the participants in our programs. So we can slice and dice these with Power BI. So based on my knowledge of the program, I can see that the participation rate looks too high. So I'll drill in Power BI. And now, given this report, you can clearly see that Samantha Abbott is enrolled in both the housing and the energy programs. So the harmonization process that we showed earlier created two distinct person entities. These programs evolved independently, and they hadn't accounted for the same person being tracked in both programs. But that's OK. Because the Data Hub keeps all of the data in its original context, this is easy to fix. So again, using our iterative approach, let's go back and refine our harmonization to resolve these duplicates. So finding and combining data related to a particular entity is known as mastering. Mastering is critical to ensuring that data is correct and aligns with the real-world things that it describes, like a person. So these programs evolved independently and hadn't ever needed to reconcile their beneficiary information. So that's why we're seeing these duplicates now for the first time in our integrated environment. So you need to master data when the real-world things, like people or products, are represented differently. This is common in silos, where the data was originally modeled to suit a particular application and hadn't contemplated the case where you wanted to bring that together. So rather than bolting on a single-purpose mastering or MDM tool, a Data Hub provides powerful mastering built in as part of the curation process. So this is a big innovation on our end with Data Hub. So smart mastering wrangles all of this fuzziness and ambiguity. It allows you to define rules for how to match entity instances. For example, people that have the same first name, last name, and address. So if there's a match, it allows you to describe granular approaches for how to merge that data. For example, do we want to keep Sam or Samantha as the first name, or both? And it automatically tracks lineage for you. So as you master, as part of the curation process, Data Hub will automatically track that provenance information such that you have a clear picture of data and its lineage. The latest Data Hub platform integrates smart mastering, allowing you to configure, run, and monitor mastering processes as part of the curation. So let's master the beneficiary roles to reconcile those duplicates. So we'll start by returning to our flow editor. Again, we're looking at Data Hub 5 here. And we'll create a mastering step. So our loading that we did earlier, our loading and mapping created entities. Mastering combines entities, and these are designed to work together. So I'll start by setting some rules for matching. So these determine whether two entities are the same. So for example, based on their properties, I can say that because they have a last name that's the same, it is a match, and it's got a weight of 24 here in our case. So we assign weights to each match criteria. So using our search and semantic indexes, you can do fuzzy matching. So it's not just values that you can match up to, but you can do things like similar sounding names, or broader or narrower terms from a taxonomy, or using a thesaurus. So next, I'll define my merge strategies. So merge strategies allow you fine-grained control at the property level about how to combine those matched entities. So for example, I could prefer addresses from the more reliable housing database. Unlike a traditional MDM approach, you can keep or enrich some or all of that data. You can learn more about smart mastering at the breakout session for the Data Hub later today. So let's run our mastering flow to master our person entities. So returning to the Eligibility Hub, you can see that smart mastering has correctly deduplicated Sam and Samantha based on the rules that we talked about earlier. And it automatically tracks the provenance, so it's easy to figure out that Samantha Abbott was mastered from 2 previously separate entities. This is a really powerful addition to the Data Hub platform. But what if we missed a nuance about how to identify similar individuals? Or an upstream data quality issue changed how our mastering rules are evaluated? Requirements change, especially as you understand your data better. Let's say, for example, that Billy Miller calls in wondering why he's not eligible for a housing subsidy. Oops. Sorry. Using the provenance history, a program analyst pulls up Billy's history. So even though he searched for William, Billy's name comes up because the Data Hub traces that provenance relationship. So after verifying his information, the analyst determines that, in fact, William and Billy are actually father and son. So our rules that used the thesaurus of nicknames had incorrectly merged Billy and William into the same entity. And that's OK. For these cases, smart mastering includes the ability to unmaster entities. So using the provenance history, smart mastering goes back and separates out entities that had previously been merged. It updates the data and all of the lineage tracking all in the same transaction. Thus, you have immediate availability of that data to all downstream applications and a consistent view of all the data and its provenance. This is really a novel way to approach mastering. So mastering is not just part of your data preparation. It's part of your operational application. So we could look and see that Billy's history has been updated. And returning to our eligibility hub, you can see that he is now eligible in real time. We've updated his eligibility based on that change in data. So in the previous silo system, this update and redetermining the eligibility would have taken days. They can now do this as part of a real-time process and always have a consistent view of their data using the eligibility hub built on MarkLogic. North Virginia has improved its customer service and data quality by addressing this problem in real time as part of their operations. So mastering is critical for bringing together data from silos where there are inevitable overlaps and inconsistencies. Smart mastering provides search and semantic index that knit together related data. Because it's part of the Data Hub, you don't need to stand up a separate MDM environment. And it happens as part of your regular operations, and it's not managed as a separate process. So accessing and curating data as part of their real-time operations is a key benefit of MarkLogic's approach to data integration. Being operational rather than just reporting or batch means that North Virginia's eligibility hub needs to be available and responsive as it grows. Luckily, Data Hub Service makes that simple. Let's see how that works. So every January, North Virginia opens its enrollment up to new benefit programs. Think of this like the Black Friday for government programs. So in their siloed legacy systems, this would grind everything to a halt as they tried to clear the backlog. Fortunately, their Data Hub service scales up for them as their workloads change. So let's head back to the data services portal to see this in action. This dashboard shows resource usage over the course of a day during open enrollment. So the green line is the baseline capacity. This is the number that we specified in that magical slider when we provisioned our Data Hub service. You'll notice that the green line is constant. That means North Virginia is paying the same amount every month. So the red line shows actual consumption as the Data Hub is used. And the blue line is that rollover balance that Gary was talking about earlier. This is the capacity that we can use in the future to scale out. Let me go into a little more detail here to explain what's going on here. So you see, looking at the red line in the morning, you can see there's not much activity overnight. So it's using fewer resources than the baseline capacity. This unused capacity rolls over to the next period. And you can see that in the blue line. That's why the blue line is increasing. So this model is very similar to your rollover minutes with your phone, in that, except that MarkLogic capacity rolls over every 5 minutes rather than every month. This allows for a lot of variability in your workloads. So as usage increases in the morning, as people are arriving at work, the Data Hub service automatically adds compute and storage capacity. So it recognizes this change in workload and automatically scales out for you. You can see the red line is increasing. So just before 9 o'clock, as users get to work, the consumption exceeds the baseline, and we start to draw down the balance. You can see that by the blue line decreasing. And this happens automatically behind the scenes for you. By the end of the day, we've drawn our balance, the blue line, all the way down to the baseline. And that's OK. Only after extended periods where usage exceeds the available balance will Data Hub Service begin to gradually limit resources. And then as usage decreases overnight, we accumulate credits for the next day's balance. So as you get more familiar with your workloads, you can also adjust your baseline at any time, changing the height of that green line. So for growing and variable workloads like our eligibility hub, Data Hub Service allows you to pay for infrastructure as you need it, without expensive upfront hardware procurement or provisioning. Rather than paying for infrastructure as you consume it, our unique approach allows you to accumulate capacity today for future scale-out. This time lag is how we even out the peaks and valleys, giving you predictability in your IT budget. Even with open enrollment, North Virginia pays the same amount every month. So by using a MarkLogic Data Hub, North Virginia was able to meet their customer service, data quality, and reporting objectives. Their eligibility hub gives them a 360-degree view of programs and beneficiaries that their legacy systems were incapable of. By rethinking their approach to be more agile, they were able to get quick wins and iterate, reducing cost and uncertainty as they developed. By deploying to the cloud with Data Hub Service, they paid for only what they needed, and they were easily able to scale out as their success increased usage. A MarkLogic Data Hub is data integration simplified. But what next? We're never done innovating. So recall our open enrollment example. Today, we have a fixed set of rules that determine how to scale your Data Hub service. We tune those rules as we understand how our customers are using those. What if those rules could adjust themselves? What if your Data Hub could learn from the past experience of all of our customers about how to scale? What if it could preempt the next slowdown by automatically adding resources for you? Earlier, I showed you how smart mastering uses rules to score matches. What if smart mastering could be smarter? What if it could change and adjust those rules over time as it saw more context about your applications? What if you could add this type of large-scale deep learning to your own applications? Machine learning is an approach to data analysis that allows you to uncover things that might not be obvious, even to expert users. It uses sophisticated mathematical techniques, such as neural networks, to account for relationships across dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of dimensions that would be difficult to capture with upfront rules. So like a human, it gets better with training, and machine learning adapts as you give it more context. Machine learning offers a wide range of opportunities for us to better curate and govern data in a data hub. We'll start by using machine learning to make a MarkLogic Data Hub smarter, without requiring you and your team to have machine learning expertise. Smarter mastering will automatically classify matches and reduce the human effort needed to disambiguate. Autonomous elasticity will learn from your traffic and infrastructure health to predict changes and future health. Predictive query optimization will adjust query plans based on past performance and resource usage. Proactive curation and governance will recommend mapping and mastering and security strategies based on the data and how it is used. This is all really exciting stuff for the next generation of the Data Hub. We're also making this available for your own applications. Today, we're introducing MarkLogic Embedded Machine Learning. Embedded machine learning is a set of built-in APIs that allow applications to find and use insights from integrated data using industry-standard deep learning models to do things like classification or prediction. Unlike most analytic technologies, MarkLogic Embedded Machine Learning runs directly in the Data Hub, where your data is already secured and curated and indexed. It allows you to have your data scientists spend more time analyzing data and less time preparing it. The models trained in the Data Hub inherit the security and governance guarantees already there. This reduces the risks and delays associated with copying data around between tools. Embedded machine learning ships with MarkLogic 10 in the next few weeks. Machine learning makes your Data Hub better. It automates things like curation and governance that today require human expertise. MarkLogic also makes machine learning better by providing your data scientists with correct, consistent, and governed data, allowing them to focus on analysis, not wrangling. I've been at MarkLogic for more than a decade. This is probably my 12th MarkLogic World. Wow, do I get some sort of prize? But I've never been more excited about the direction we're going and the innovation that's guiding us there. Today, I showed you the next generation of Data Hub Platform that puts the powerful capabilities like smart mastering and automatic provenance tracking in the hands of users without having to spin up a development effort. Embedded machine learning extends the Data Hub to provide richer insights and smarter curation without having to build up a separate data science infrastructure. You get powerful deep learning out of the box with MarkLogic 10 shipping in a few weeks. MarkLogic Data Hub Service runs all of this in the cloud, where we manage it for you. Use what you need to grow or experiment, and still be assured of predictable pricing each month. We ensure that your data is always available and secure. Your data is your organization's most valuable asset. Designed to work together, the innovations that I've showed you today provide the fastest, most secure way to get value out of your data by creating a 360-degree view of it. That is data integration simplified. Thank you.